Okay, well, that's enough about McLaren. Very excited about that one, though, personally. Now it's time for Ferrari. They've got two World Championship drivers driving for them this year, as they did last year. But they've got Kimi and they've got Vettel now, of course, which has got to be really weird for the Tifosi, who literally booed Vettel. Literally booed him. Yes, exactly. Like they actually hated him, and now they have to. And it's so weird with the Tifosi. I mean, because it really is just blind obedience, which in a way you have to really respect. You really got to respect it in a certain way. But I mean, it's got to be a little strange for them to, in the blink of an eye, go from hating the guy to buying his merchandise.
It was the same. It was the same thing with Alonso. They didn't quite hate Alonso, but obviously they disliked him because he was winning, and they wanted
At Renault,
to win. And then they absolutely adored him when he was there. Obviously, it took a little while to build up to that level, but yeah, it was the same thing. It just, like I said, it's just blind. Ferrari all about blind trust and blind faith. That's what Ferrari are all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I think a lot of people are interested in seeing because now Kimi is that barometer that's gonna kind of tell us just exactly how fast Vettel is. Obviously, we've only seen Vettel race against. I mean, in top level cars, we've only seen him race against Mark Webber and Daniel Ricciardo. Two Australians. He's only ever raced with Australians. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that shapes up. Also, Kimi has been giving feedback about this year's car, saying that it has that front end bite, that he really wants from a car. So it's going to be really interesting. It seems like the 2015 Ferrari is going to be one that is suited to Raikkonen. But of course, Vettel's a little bit younger. He's got 4 championships, obviously. I mean, I know, Miko, you're probably a little bit biased when it comes to that battle, but I mean, where do you guys see that going? I mean, do you think it's going to be closer than last year with Raikkonen and Alonso? Do you think Vettel's going to beat him as handedly as Alonso did?
Well, I think they're probably going to be pretty close because pretty much their driving styles are pretty similar. If you compare Kimi and Vettel to Kimi and Alonso, they're like polar opposites in that respect, where Alonso could work the last year's car to bring out some points like regularly, but now that the car is looking at least much better in terms of handling, then I wouldn't be surprised that they would probably be pretty close to each other.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Vettel is on a similar. I think that Vettel and Raikkonen are a similar skill level, similar talent, that sort of thing. And I've rated Vettel hugely highly. Yeah, he's impressive, and he's obviously what he's achieved is impressive. But I still don't think he's up there with Hamilton, Alonso, and I would put Ricciardo in that group even now.
Wow.
Like last year, was a bum year. Everyone has bum years. I would say last year was a bit of a bum year for Alonso, even though he did well. He didn't do up to his usual standard. Mm-hmm. But so he will. He
destroyed
will
Raikkonen though.
Well, I know exactly. He still destroyed Raikkonen. He just said something about Alonso, really, doesn't it? But I think Vettel will be better this year again. Renewed motivation, because he struggled for motivation last year.
He did.
But to me, that was because he was getting beat.
Mm-hmm. Right.
that was why. It wasn't. There's no.
And for a lot of drivers, that would be more motivation.
No, hang on. Yeah, it's not just that, is it? It's because he's gone from on the back of 4 titles in a row to having a relatively uncompetitive car, even though it still came P2 in the constructors by quite a way. By his standards, it was an uncompetitive car. So it was those two factors combined, and he just lost motivation. To me, that sort of thing is the sign of a great driver, to be able to pick yourself up when you're stone cold last after having made 4 pit stops and been done over by a safety car twice. To be able to pick yourself up and battle through and come higher up, and that applies to the whole season as well. It's what happened with Vettel. And I think he'll beat Raikkonen. I don't think he'll dominate him like Alonso did, but I think he will beat him. Probably this year, but Vettel is quite picky about his car, so I'm not sure. Maybe not. Maybe till next year till he's properly beaten him. But
right.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. The Ferrari driver lineups is a bit of a weird one. They've not really got a star. Even Vettel on paper is a star. But, I don't know, most people still kind of regard him as a little bit of an unknown because he's only ever been in a dominant car, and when he wasn't, he got beaten quite badly by a brand new teammate. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, the Ferrari driver lineups is a bit of a weird one. They've not really got a star. Even Vettel on paper is a star. But, most people still kind of regard him as a little bit of an unknown because he's only ever been in a dominant car, and when he wasn't, he got beaten quite badly by a brand new teammate. So, I mean, it's difficult to judge him still. So I don't know. It's a different move from Ferrari. But it's just, like I said, it should be interesting anyway to see what they've done. And I think they'll be a lot more competitive this year, like a lot more. Judging on what I've seen in testing, even if they did glory runs, it was impressive what they were doing.
Right.
They were doing better mileage. They did look pretty competitive. Like I said, there was positive feedback about the car, all that sort of thing. So I mean, I can't. They're not going to challenge Mercedes. I can't see them challenging Red Bull. I think there'll be a solid P3 unless McLaren really get their act together. And they might have the odd win. I think they've gone back to kind of the Ferrari of the V8 era, kind of solid, the odd race win, but nothing spectacular.
Right. Not championship contender, but race contender, race win contender.
Not on a consistent basis. On
Right.
occasion, an occasional race win contender. How about that?
Gotcha.
So something like that.
Gotcha.
But I can't see it happen while Mercedes are being so dominant, which I think we'll get onto that. But
I think their new team principal, forgetting his name, I think it was Mauricio Arrivabene or something like that, which
I'll
is
take your word for
very
it.
Italian.
Try that,
Very
yeah.
Italian, yeah. So I think he said that what they were aiming for was a race win for both of them. That would be like the ideal. But I think even one win would be positive from last year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
well, I mean, one podium would be positive from. They didn't get any podiums
Right.
last year for the first time in many years.
Honestly, I think
So-
if Ferrari finished races not so far behind, even if the finishing positions were still the same, as long as they're less time between them crossing, I think
It'd be
even
positive.
that would be positive for them. But
But let's not forget they made big changes only about 6 months ago. It wasn't long ago. So, I think that we're already seeing those changes come through amazingly. But realistically, it'll be next year where next year they could even be title contenders perhaps. That will take something big to happen. But it's not impossible judging on the big changes they made that applied for this season.
with their partnership with Haas, I'm surprised they're not trying to take advantage of Haas's wind tunnel that I brought up earlier, actually.
So did America. They're in Maranello.
It's true, but I mean, it's only a 50% model, and I mean, this day we have 3D printers. They could literally just send a file over to America via an email and have the model printed here, and done in the wind tunnel, and then all the data sent back over.
Can't. I don't know the details of it, but I'm assuming 3D printing will be completely different material to what they would build the actual car in. So you get different flexing and all that sort of thing would be different. It would just be completely irrelevant data. So you can't. I think you can 3D print certain parts, but like say a whole front wing, you just couldn't.
Too intricate.
Yeah. And I think they got restrictions on it now. But I heard in the past they were running the wind tunnels 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I think there are restrictions.
Not
now.
literally running, but they were always they were setting new things up in there, and they're always doing something in the wind tunnel. And there is restrictions now, but even so, they run it a lot. So it's not like they can it's just because they run it so much. If they only run it once a week, then they probably could. But and obviously they've only just rebuilt their wind tunnel as well, so their wind tunnel should be really good now as well. Because they probably spent millions and millions doing that, so
Right.
it should be comparable.
Interesting to point out, though, from the testing times, and obviously we don't know fuel loads and everything like that, but Sebastian Vettel's fastest time was only a tenth and a half slower than Raikkonen's, and obviously they were the only people to be in the 120s for the entire test. But Vettel's
missed a big detail there.
Vettel's on
mediums.
medium, and that's what I was
Yeah.
building up to. Thanks for that. Thanks for
Sorry,
ruining
jumped
it
the gun.
for me. But Vettel's was on medium, so it does seem that even though maybe the Ferrari car was designed around Kimi Räikkönen, it does seem that it also suits Vettel as well, because we're not seeing a huge difference between them, and in fact, it may even be that Vettel has the upper hand at this point. So again, we don't know fuel loads and everything, and that can make the difference. That can make a difference of 5 tenths, 8 tenths, even more.
I would say Vettel has got the upper hand now purely because he's a much harder worker than Kimi. He would have been in
This
the
is true.
factory, been in the simulator.
This is very true.
Really, really working hard, and he will have an instant advantage from that. But then Raikkonen, by the time he comes first race, he'll have evened that out because he is a talented driver and he will have figured it out. Whereas Vettel's already got a setup nailed down probably because of all the simulator work and stuff he's done. Whereas Raikkonen, he's just had a child as well, bearing in mind.
True.
Yeah.
So apparently he looked very tired, but he also wouldn't have had any time to go to Maranello and work, because he's been too busy with his child. So.
So yeah, I think it's going to be a fun year for Ferrari, more so than last year, anyway. If only because their drivers will be a little bit closer, because again, it's a car that suits Kimi and stuff. I think we should have seen the type of racing in 2014 at Ferrari that we're gonna see this year in 2015 in Ferrari. I think it's going to be a lot closer between these two. Not to take anything away from Raikkonen versus Alonso, again, it just really was not a car that Raikkonen didn't like, or that it was not a car that he did like. So obviously, he really struggled in 2014. Everybody knows that. Who watched even a single race would have seen that. But it should be pretty good. I'm looking forward to Ferrari as well. I mean, really. I think I'm looking forward more to this year than I was to last year. I don't want to get too off topic, but in general, I'm very excited for a lot of these team pairings and stuff.